So then let's start. Now I'd like to welcome Simone. He will show us how to build a CI/CD pipeline in ABAP on-premise with GitHub Actions. This is actually one of my famous talk of today. Based on the idea and the hard work of people like Lars Vam, Marc Bernard, Christian Günther, and many other contributors who built stuff like abapGit, abapLint, abapOpenChecks, and lots of more open source stuff in ABAP. We can now leverage these projects and build our own solutions. And I'm really happy that Simon will talk about how to use this stuff and how to build CI/CD pipelines on-prem. And I hope, Simon, you're ready, and the stage is yours.
All right, so you can see the screen right now.
Yes.
All right, thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Simon, or Simone, whatever you want to call me. And thanks for joining me and giving me the opportunity to give this speech. So the topic of this session is about, like Domi said, making an on-premise ABAP CI/CD with GitHub Actions. This is going to be a live demo, so hopefully the PC is not going to blow up on me, but we will see if everything works fine. Before that, though, I'll just have a few slides that will help me introduce the topic for everybody. So a quick disclaimer, I'm not going to go into much details of a lot of stuff you're going to see in the demo. I just cannot fit everything into 50 minutes. But this session is based off a blog article that I made not long ago, a while back on ABAP on the SAP community. So if you're interested in the topic and you want to get more into it, there's a lot more in the article. So I'm going to start off with asking you a question. So whenever you're ready to make a new update for your software library, whatever it is in ABAP, what is your task list? What are you going to do to get the update in your system ready for production? So this question is actually very important because it's going to be the key to the topic of today. We want to make this update not break things that already work in our system, obviously, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Obviously, sometimes these types of updates carry a lot of new features or bug fixes. So obviously, being careful of breaking changes that people assume they're already working. We then want to make this update as easy as possible because maybe you have a situation where you have a lot of customers that you want to get your update to. And obviously, the harder it is, the more time consuming this task is, the more it's going to be painful, to put it in an easy way. Developers are just there to make code, that they don't want to go through troubleshooting for these kind of things. And maybe optionally, we also want to make this automatic. That will be a cool thing. And obviously, we also have to consider that we don't want to break our business during any of these operations. So with this question, let's see if this thing goes away. Okay. We're not the first person. I'm not the first person to ask myself these questions. This is already discovered in the development board. Let's put it this way. And the solution is CI/CD. It's basically just a combination of best practices and operation that you're supposed to do in order to make this type of operation. So making an update as smooth as possible. So this is CI/CD. I think you've seen this this schema, whatever you want to call this image. I think you've seen it a million times. I'm sure you've seen it a lot of times. And yeah, this is CI/CD. I'm not going to get much into detail again. There's a lot of documentation online. I cannot fit it in this presentation. But I made a few examples of tools that you might use in a CI/CD solution if your environment is not ABAP. So, for example, you would have the code stage. You would use maybe Git if that would be a suitable solution. So you would have GitHub or GitLabs. In the build step, you will have software that will help you build like Gradle or Webpack. For a test, you would have some other type of software that will make automatic tests. In this case, I have Jest and JUnit. And then you have the release and deploy stage. And again, you would have some tools that will support that. But then again, we are at the ABAPConf. We make ABAP code. So obviously, we want to know how about ABAP. Like this is also cool. Again, we've seen it a million times, but nobody says anything about ABAP, right? I haven't seen anything about ABAP online. In fact, I had a hard time coming up with a solution for it because there's not much information online about this. You would have to study each one of the software that I'm about to show you in detail to get to an actual ABAP CI/CD. But thankfully, like Domi said at the beginning, the .abap community or the open source community, whatever you want to call it, came to the rescue. So I advise you all to go to .abap.org. This website is basically an index for open source projects. And you can find a lot of stuff that you probably think that it was not even built for ABAP. I assure you that. And all of the projects that you're about to see, or the software, let's say in this way, that you're about to see are open source for the exception of like one, but we're not going to see it today. So this is the solution I came up with. Well, first of all, obviously this is just an idea of CI/CD. It's not anything, it's not, you can change whatever you want if that's the case in your project. I decided to start with abapGit. If you don't know abapGit, I'm sure everybody knows abapGit, but if you don't know it, it's basically a Git client for ABAP. Its job is to bring SAP objects into Git. And the Git is basically the starting point for every CI/CD. So abapGit does the job fantastically for this task. The build stage, I think the build stage in the ABAP world would be the moment you release a transport request. At that point, whatever code you have, it's inside of in a binary form. Let's say it's a binary form, and it cannot be changed. So it's basically a build if you wanna see it that way. When it comes to testing, you can have obviously tests that you would run manually, but in this case, we're talking about automated tests, and there's an actual ABAP SAP solution, which is ATC. We're not going to see it today, but just know that it's there and it could be used if you want it. What we are going to see is ADASH and abapLint. Those are two projects, open source projects, just like abapGit, that will help you with automated tests. ADASH is for unit testing, and abapLint is for syntax check. For the release and deploy stage, I'm happy to introduce for the first time in a live demo a stable release of TRM, which is a project that I've been working on for the past year, basically. And its job is to get your development from one system to another. So this is why I chose it for the release and deploy stage. I just have a quick slide just to, I know if you know abapGit, I know you're probably asking yourself, what's the difference between abapGit and TRM? Because basically, the concept behind it might seem the same, but it's actually very different. If we look back at this schema, we can see that abapGit is for the code part, or code stage, whatever you want to call it, and TRM is for release and deploy. So it's very different in a lot of reasons. And the first one is that abapGit is basically a serializer and deserializer for development objects, while TRM uses SAP standard transport request and TMS. So basically, TRM gets the build in your system, while abapGit gets the source code into your system, if this representation makes sense to you. Then again, you could use abapGit for the release and deploy, but abapGit, in my opinion, and I think that's the philosophy behind it, it's not built for the release and deploy, stage. Because it's just missing some things that do not fit the description of the release and deploy stage. But it's fantastic for the code stage. And other differences is that abapGit uses the SAP GUI, while TRM is a CLI project, and abapGit uses a Git repository and TRM a TRM repository. All right, so we're about to get into the demo, and I'll start off by introducing the landscape of this demo. I'll have, in my internal systems, I'll have an A4H central development system, and then I'll have two customer target systems. Well, one customer target system and one quality system connected to it in the landscape. Basically, what I'm going to do is make a new feature to an application that I previously built, and I want to make this update available for all my customer systems. So what I want to do is with ADASH and abapLint to make sure that my changes aren't breaking anything, and I set up some syntax rules for my project, so I also have to check that. And when everything is ready, I'll deploy my release into a registry, and having a release with a version basically says I guarantee some features and some not if I make a release with a version. And also I added the stage to automatically update my customer system, but this is obviously optional if you want it. Another disclaimer about the demo is that obviously this is just a test case, a demo case. It's nothing too serious, you know. I decided to put a few common use cases, just so that you can understand the potential of this in an actual real life scenario. So, for example, having a library update on all of your customer systems. I'm sure everybody in their company has a library that they use on most of their customer systems. Or again, keeping track of what versions installed on each of your target system, or even just having a library or a software ready for install at a specific version. And also the upgrade or update, whatever you want to call it, procedure is going to be a new standard basically when you start using these kind of tools. All right, so I can get into the demo right now. I'm starting off with a Git repository that I made. Let's see if I can move this so you can see better. So this is a Git repository that I made a while back. Yesterday. There's a README and whatever. I'm going to update this at the end of the ABAPConf. But what we're interested in is this folder. It's the .github folder. For those who don't know, basically on GitHub, this folder is some kind of property, or you can put some files for configuration of your repository. And in this case, in the workflows folder, I have 3 workflows. So the first one is the ADASH. And this workflow is going to run unit test for my package. We'll get into it later, but as you can see, ADASH is basically just a command line tool. So it works very well for a CI/CD environment. Then I have publish. This is for when I make a release. Again, we will get into it later with TRM, and we can have maybe a more in-depth explanation. And same thing goes for the install workflow. So another thing I want to show you is that I have a branching strategy set up for this repository. So if I go in branches, the main branch is locked, and that means that I cannot create any comment to the main branch. You can see it means this require a pull request before measuring means that I cannot make any comment to it without a pull request. And that is going to be handy later on with the unit test that they have to pass in order to approve a comment, basically. So yeah, now I can show you the actual ABAP code that we're going to use for the demo. Nothing too crazy. It's just a report that I made. Let's see it in action. It's going to validate VAT number. It's just a regex. It's not an actual check, but the idea is if I put anything in here, it's going to say it's not valid. And if I put something that the regex is okay with, is going to say it's valid. And the regex is very simple. It's just IT and 11 numbers after that. So this is the report that we have. Obviously, in a real life scenario, the thing will be more complex, but you get the idea. And the first thing I'm going to do is, this is the package, by the way. First thing I'm going to do is open abapGit and create the first comment. So I created the repo. You go new online and you fill up this form and you create the repo. I already did it. So those are the files that abapGit is going to make on my Git repository. So the class my dev class and my program. This is the class, by the way. Let me show you real quick. So the class is whatever you saw before, valid and valid, with a test class that we'll get to it later. I can make the commit, so I go into stage, add all and comment. I'll add a comment like there's a bit comment. Place my email. And again, I cannot make any comment on the main branch, so I would have to use this option and create a new branch before making the comment. So we can see that there are no differences anymore. And if I go into Git, I can see that ABAP had recent pushes. So if I go in here, we can see that there's source code. Another thing you might notice is that something is already running in the background. You can see pending here. If we go into actions, ADASH is already running and checking unit tests. So what's going on is my package, so ADASH detects that my package as unit test, and that would be this method, is the verify method. If I go into test classes, I have 2 unit tests. So one for a valid VAT number, one for an invalid VAT number. If I go into here and run these individually with the unit test tool in the ADT, everything turns out to be fine. So I have 2 example VAT numbers. One is valid, one is invalid, and both are okay. So what I expect from my GitHub action is that everything will be fine. And in fact, everything is fine. If we can see, if we go into detail, we can see that ADASH says that the package is valid. So this is basically what ADASH does in the background while we make a commit. And in this case, I'm opening a pull request from the branch I just created to main, so we can get the code into main. Another check that is running in the background that we just couldn't see before is abapLint. So abapLint, this is the tool, has a cool feature called the abapLint app. So you can install this into a repository. I did that earlier, and you basically get abapLint into your Git repo without doing anything else additionally. And there are a lot of rules you can set with your syntax on abapLint. In my case, it was just a very simple rule. Let me show it. I just wanted to check that I had no space without no space before dot. Sorry. So that was just the rule that I decided to use. But there are a lot of other rules that you can check. So let's approve this pull request. We made the merge, and now on main, I have the source code first ABAP comment. Now that I've done my first comment, I can also come back on branches and say that I need my status check to pass before merging. So this is very important. We can say that ADASH is required. So without the unit test passing, there's no way I can merge a branch into main. All right, so now let's pretend I'm making a change to my code. So I'm going to class, and I want to change this message. Let's say that the message VAT number is not valid, now becomes congrats, VAT number is valid. And let's pretend that while I do that, for some reason, the developer is going to break the method. So I'm going to add a space before the dot just so I can get abapLint to signal that this is an error. And I'm also going to change this from 11 to 10. And at this point, the program is broken. So if I go into the report real quick, and I run this, at this point, I will get an error if I run this. Now, we don't know if we don't know if the end user is going to actually test this. So we obviously have a unit test for this that we can run. And this is going to tell us that the VAT number was expected to be verified, but is actually not working. So if I make a comment on the repo at this point, by going to refresh, I'm going to see the changes. And I call this, and I make a new branch. So I go back into GitHub, and again, I can do a compare and pull request. I create the pull request. But we can already see that abapLint is telling us that we have a failing task with one issue. And the cool thing about GitHub is that I decided not to allow any merging without all the status check passing. So I can't physically merge this at this point. And also ADASH is failing. So if you go into the details of both, you can see that ADASH, just like the ADT, is telling us that the VAT number was expected to be valid and is actually invalid. And if I go into abapLint, into the details, I have a space before dot error, so it's telling me to remove the space before the dot. And ABAPLint is actually kind enough to tell us where the error is, so I could just make the change on GitHub. So the developer is informed that his commit is breaking something, and you can come back to the code and fix it real quick. We're going to make the commit again. And this is going to update instantly, as you can see. Now this time, abapLint is going to be successful because we removed the error. And if we refresh this, the message is not there anymore. If you go into the detail of ADASH, this time, ADASH is going to pass all the tests. So if I come back, at this point, I can merge the pull request into main. So I'm going to do that. And basically right now in the main branch of the repo, we have code that we know for sure that is not going to break anything that was previously working. In this case, the verify VAT number method. And also has the new feature. So we have a new message when the VAT number is valid. At this point, we basically are ready to make a release for our product or library, whatever it is. So this is the TRM part. So I'm going to introduce it real quick. TRM is a CLI tool. So I have it installed in my system. Documentation about TRM still has to be, it's out there, but it needs some work. But basically TRM is a CLI command. If I run this, there's a lot of options that you can call. The command that we're going to see today is list. Basically is a list of packages that we have installed. In this case, A4H, which is the development system. I'm going to run this. And you can see that I just have 2 packages installed. What I'm going to do right now is create a new release. And this is going to trigger the publish workflow that we have here. So this is the action. And basically, it's going to publish a new release into the registry. So let's just do that, create new release. We're going to give this release a version, so 1.0.0 is okay. And we'll create release notes. All right, if we go into the actions, TRM is now publishing the release. Another thing I want to do before I get into the end of the pipeline, I'm also going to check RST, which is the customer development system or the target system of our project. And on RST2, you're going to see that I just have 2 packages. So right now, TRM, without getting into detail of the magic that goes behind it, is basically publishing the package. It's going to check for dependencies too. We're going to see that later if we still have a few minutes left. But it's generating transport requests and publishing them into the registry. So let's give it a few seconds. First release is successful, and the second one too. All right, so as you can see, the package abapConf is published to the registry. If I go to the registry, let's refresh this. Here it is. That's the package. Another thing that we can check is if we go into RST, this is RST, And if I try to search for the package, we can see that it's not installed. We are now running the install workflow. So this is going to bring the package that we just made into our customer system. So this is going to be a little bit slow. So while it does that, let's just check that A4H now has the package published. So as you can see now, we have 3 packages. So the abapConf package. And again, it's not installed on RST yet. So if we go here, we have 2 packages. So let's wait a few seconds for the install to finish. And this step takes a little longer because RST basically we're proxying the our internal system to GitHub, because you obviously need some sort of connection from GitHub to your SAP system for this to work. So this type of proxy is takes a little longer than the publish. All right, so now it's starting the install process. So basically, again, the registry contains the actual transfer request. You can download this yourself. And there's basically the transfer request of the project that we just built. And now it's importing into the target system or the customer development system. All right, so it's finishing. So obviously with warnings, but you know, SAP. And that's it. Basically, we installed a release, and again, I cannot stop saying how important it is to make releases about your projects. A release is a version. It's a version of your package, so you know that a version at that point in time has certain features that you assure are working, and more so with unit testing. And we now know that RST has abapConf installed at the version 1.0.0. And if we go back here and we do the TRM list on RST, we now see that abapConf is part of the packages installed on RST. In fact, if we check this real quick, we can see the package is actually on the system with the source code that we saw earlier. Another cool thing that you might have seen here in the log is that it generated a new transfer request, this one, and I'm going to show you what that actually means. So if I go into the system, this is RST, the customer development system. This is the new transfer that was generated on RST. So the thing is, what you want to do is get your development across the customer development system. You don't want to automatically get into quality or even worse, production. I don't think that's a best practice. Nobody thinks it's a best practice. So obviously you want to get your development into the development system. The TRM helps you out with that because it's basically going to generate a new transfer request with everything inside of it. So you can see that we have the program and the class that that contains all the business code. But the cool thing about this transport request is that I can it's already ready for transport to my quality system. So let's open up my quality system. Let's see if the connection works. It wasn't working earlier. Let's go like this. All right, so this is RGD. If you remember the scheme I showed you earlier, this is the quality system of the landscape. And again, I can do the same command, secure list RGD. And this time you can see there's actually 0 packages. And the cool thing is that you don't need TRM in your quality system. If you think about it, TRM is just a utility to get your packages across your development system. So you don't need TRM in your quality system. It's actually, in my opinion, bad practice for security reasons, sorry. So RGD doesn't even have our TRM installed. We check. There's no TRM backend package on RGD. That's searching, but there's not going to be no results. There you go. And what I'm going to do is get my transport request in my quality system. This is the same practice that you will do normally. So let's go into STMS, RGD. Let's refresh. Here's my ABAPConf package, 1.0.0. Let's transfer this. Let's go into RGD, again, STMS. RST, refresh. Oh, sorry, RGD. And import to do that. So now let's wait for the import to be in my quality system. This is, normal procedure. I'm sure everybody has done this millions of times, but okay, so it's importing. There you go. We can actually see it on RGD that our package is there. If we start, there you go. Italy that we have the program on RGD. So now it's in quality. And again, at this point, I can do TRM list. Remember, RGD doesn't have TRM installed. But this time, we can see that even RGD has ABAPConf at the version 1.0.0. Now, we still have 10 minutes before the session ends. So this was the CI/CD part of the session. If we want to take it a step even, if we want to add just a little bit of a complication, we can see what our dependencies are handled. This is, I think, it's fundamental in the CI/CD because we know how ABAP works, and inevitably we're going to have dependencies with our package, and imports are not going to work the right way. So let me show you what I mean with dependency. I actually made another package. Let's close everything so we don't get confused. Which is called dependency, and it's basically just a method that has a display pop up. And I'm going to create the dependencies. So again, we can see that we have the main package, which is AC24 Italy that. And if I go into the actually program code and add this class as a dependency. So not right. With same input. I run the program again. Now I have a button called View Data, and it's basically just a simple pop-up. But what I essentially made right now is a dependency, because basically my Italy VAT AC24 package will never work on your system if you don't have this class. And this class is part of another package, which is called Italy VAT AC24 dependency. So if we just install this without this dependency, we're going to get the transfer request RC4. So it's basically going to go red in our transfer request buffer. So let's see how TRM handles this. And again, just like abapGit and ADASH and abapLint, those things are standalones. So I'm going to show you how it would work without the CI/CD. So I'm going to run the command publish ABAPConf 2024 1.2.0. Let's make a new version of it. So A4H is our central development system. I'm going to use TRM. This is the package name. And as you can see, it's telling me, it's giving me an error. So I cannot publish this because there's a dependency in my package, and I need to resolve this. So basically, I'm going to publish this one first, and then the Italy VAT AC24. So let's go 2024 ETST. And all of this you're seeing right now, it's not part of the CI/CD, but obviously it will work the same in the CI/CD. So the end result would be an error basically in your CI/CD step. And the cool thing here is that dependencies are automatically detected for a lot of the objects that we commonly use in ABAP. We could manually edit dependencies. And another cool thing that TRM does is basically give SAP dependencies. So if we just look, the VAT display uses these objects, and pop up to inform the function group of this thing. So it's as expected. So let's give a short description. Sample dependency. We don't need to do any of that. Let's just go. We don't need any customizing. And now we're releasing. This is the same step that we've seen in GitHub. Now it's done on CLI, but it's the same step. So now we can go back and publish ABAPConf 1.2.0. And this time it shouldn't tell us any error. So let's see if that works. Okay, as you can see, the package has one TRM package dependency of 5 required SAP objects, and it's telling us that the dependency is ABAPConf 2024 1.0.0. That's cool. We're all good here. Let's publish again. And now we have 1.2.0, sorry. So if we go into list for A4H, Central Development System, we can see that, well, let me just adjust this. Okay. We can see that A4H as abapconf 1.2.0. If we run the same command for RSD, our customer development system, we can see that the version on RSD is 1.0.0. So this is fundamental. You know, if you need to update a package with a new feature, you always need to keep track of what your customer version is. And we could do the same for RGD, and we would have 1.0.0 like we saw earlier. So now we can do trm install abapconf 2024 on RSD. So we're going to update RSD. And as you can see, there's a dependency. So basically, it's telling us there's one missing dependency to install before I can continue. And that dependency is abapconf dependency test 1.0.0. Do you want to install? And I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to call it the same way. I need to change the name. And now I can continue with the install of the update. So Italy VATAC 24 is the package. There you go. So now if I go into RSD, you can see that we have imported the 1.2.0 and also the dependency. So if we were to go into the report, sorry, to the VAT, verify, execute, view data, we have the display. And again, TRM list for RSD, which is development system, will show us the updated version, hopefully. So yeah, we have 1.2.0 and the dependency. We haven't imported this into RGD yet, which is the quality system. So if we run this, we're going to see that the versions are different. So here we have 1.0.0 instead of the 1.2.0 that we have in development. And that's pretty much it. So we have a CI/CD. We've seen how unit tests are performed before making a release of our package. And we've also seen, we've also seen dependencies with packages and how they can affect your pipeline if you were to run the same thing, not in the CLI environment, but in a pipeline environment. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see how we can stop this.
Perfect. Thank you, Simon. So really cool stuff. I really hope this will encourage more developers to use abapGit, to use abapLint, and even more important, to write more unit tests. So thank you very much.